Where is my phone? Hitting the neck, by the way. God, I have to sneeze. I have a book open called Anatomy for Sculptors. plus a handful of other things. Hey, four. What's up, fellow head? Quiet in here today. This come down. Or maybe I made the neck too long. The Air Up commercials have ruined this song for me. What song? Did make the neck too long. Hang on. I think I did. Daniel is that guy. Hi. The interesting name. I have a huge piece of hair sticking out in the back of my head. They play this song while talking about how much Air Up is gonna make you pee so much because all the water you'll drink. What is Air Up? Oh, this classical song. I guess that makes sense. Alright, well, I guess that's one way to figure out how long the neck is. CEO of cats. Some dumb water bottle ad that adds flavor to the water. Oh, I never liked those types of things. Which I hate water. Is that because you're essentially a cat? It's super annoying, but tell me to stay hydrated. Me, I have trouble sleeping. My wrist hurts. I have a headache for 3 days. Like, have you tried hydration? To be fair, there are people who don't drink water and are dehydrated. Probably more than are not dehydrated. Tell you when it's dehydrated. Yeah, well, a lot of people don't pay attention to their body. Or your body doesn't tell you quick enough. I actually passed out the first time I went to Sweden. I, my dad and I were walking around everywhere, um, and just didn't notice that. Like we were about to go get food, and I wasn't really particularly hungry or anything. Uh, and I started getting like lightheaded and had to like sit down. Skill issue. Maybe. Hey, Silver. Yeah, I started back up last week with the streaming, and I will be here this week. Next week, I will be in Mexico. Um, so I don't think I'm gonna do anything next week. Hi, Lucky. Unless I live stream you while from Mexico. There are cases where your new environment, your brain is busy focusing on new information. Talking about everyday people thinking they die of thirst in their office job. Oh, yeah, that's true. I actually didn't think of that or consider that. Yeah, we walked so many places and didn't realize, I guess everything was new information. Thank you, Silver. I'm sure we will enjoy our trip. Let's see here. It's a little... to be. Should push this back. In the Pride Parade in Stockholm last weekend, definitely did not drink enough water because all the music and dancing. Oh man, that could be dangerous. Like the outside stimuli sort of messing with you. I have a really funny story actually. This is, well, it's not an adult story, but I went to a party when I was younger, and people were smoking weed in the house, um, and it was so much that the house was basically being hotboxed, um, and we were drinking. I don't think I actually smoked anything. Just it was from the house. Um, and we were drinking, and then when I finally left, I took about 2 steps out the door. I was totally fine, by the way, but I took about 2 steps out the door, and I fell over onto the grass. I like could not get my footing, and it was basically because the environment in there was so just like closed, and that once I hit fresh air, I was just like toast. It was really fun. My friend had to literally carry me, like I was on his shoulder trying to like figure out how my feet work. Um, it was definitely one of the funniest experiences. Like I was lucid and everything. It was just such a weird experience. It was like I was a puppet without its strings. Had a similar experience smoking a hookah without breaks in between. Yeah, it's weird. Your body um, just all of a sudden can stop working. Yep. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Oh shit, I drew it on the wrong layer. We did have some amazing ramen afterwards, so I did regain the water my body had been sweating out. That's good. You gotta breathe in between, otherwise you're just inhaling and exhaling vapor non-stop. What kind of ramen are you into? I like chicken noodles. I'm plant-based vegan, so it's a little bit tricky sometimes to get ramen, but there actually was this really amazing ramen in San Francisco, in Japantown, that was vegan, and it was freaking delicious. I have never had ramen like that in my life. And it is the one thing that I super miss from there. They prepared like all the ingredients individually and then put it into the ramen. So like they had this crispy seaweed that was prepared separately, and these mushrooms that were like, I don't know what they did to them. These thin slices of tofu that were really flavorful. It was incredible, and always a huge bowl too. Like the portion was amazing. So there's a little bit of crispy seaweed. Yeah, it's a good one. This one's a bit trickier. Hits from the back are confusing. Hey, Keel. At least this is being made to be confusing. Treat yourself to some ramen for dinner? Yeah, that's the good ramen. Don't be buying cheap ramen. It's not good for you. I'm gonna say it's kind of pointless to learn that. All right. You got shoyu broth and udon noodles. Just to buy some nice toppings. Oh, good. You're gonna make it from scratch. That's pretty cool. The broth is store bought. I'm not that dedicated. It's still cool that you're making it from scratch. I don't think most people make their own broth, or like you buy veggie broth boxes or something, or chicken broth or whatever. Um, Gotta bring back some music. One sec. Oh, come on. I'm really not much of a home cook. I cook a lot, actually. I enjoy it quite a bit. Cups of submit. Honestly, the more that I do back views, the more I realize I'm just bad at them. The back side of the head is hard as hell. It's just not practiced very much by most people, to be honest. Okay, enjoy your walks over. After all that work, you cover it with hair. Yeah. Alright, time to take a standing break. Sorry if you hear dogs barking. Oh my god. Oy. Right now, I just... it's, Oy. It's not that I'm switching back and forth between songs. It's that, I search for, like, long duration for the songs. And then it's just auto-playing all of them. So it's probably going through a bunch of random stuff. That's alright. What's today? Thursday? Anybody doing anything fun today? I'm doing this, and then I have work that I get paid money to do. That is super boring. I have to design stuff in Word. Designing in Word is a pain in the butt as a graphic designer. It's not fun. Hang on 1 second, so move the door. Yeah, designing in Word is a pain, and I haven't done it for years, so hopefully I can actually get it done. I can't say that words for design is more for words. Yeah, I had a job a while back that they had a lot of templates in Word that they wanted kind of overly designed. And that's when I learned how to design in Word. It's a pain in the butt. Like you said, it's not designed for design. It's designed for just words. But there are abilities in there to like make shapes and format text in more interesting ways. Gotta love when you put an image in Word and fuck up the entire... Yeah, that's what I hate about the Word design stuff the most, is that it's so stupid because someone's gonna come in there and just absolutely break it. Like, there's honestly no point in making those, unless you can fit everything the way that it's already done. Like, it's almost for sure the client will break it. Because they don't know how to design in Word. I barely know how to do it, and I'm a designer. It's a pain in the butt either way, for like just designing it and for dealing with a client that's using a template like that. I don't know why people need those. Man, I can't read everything. In elementary school, I did a whole how to draw manga project in Word. Adding all the example images and trying to run it, but the text was hell. That was a long time ago. There's probably less design-like tools in Word. They've shoved a lot of stuff in there now, so I can imagine that was pretty tough. I wouldn't have enjoyed that for sure. It still doesn't look right either, even when you do design stuff in Word, you know? Because it's not a design document. I don't understand. We do that. I'm actually going to do I'm trying to improve at graphic design too, so I'm learning... I hate Adobe, but all the tutorials that are good for design are through Photoshop, so I'm going to figure out how to use Photoshop better than I'm using it now. And then I'll try other programs like Affinity. But I don't want to be super reliant on Adobe programs. I really need to figure out how to pirate Adobe. I didn't say that. Can't improve absolute imperfection. But anyways, yeah, I'm working on improving Photoshop skills and mostly really design skills, just learning how to use this stupid program. And I'm gonna do, I guess, Ahoyoverse does a lot of competitions a lot of the time. They're doing like a strategy guide competition, so I'm gonna use it as an excuse to practice graphic design. And use their assets and practice all that stuff. I kind of want to do some paintings of the characters too, but I'll do that. InDesign is pretty much if Word had good design features and tools to it. Yeah, I would much rather design it in InDesign. Even though InDesign is probably my weakest program, it's much better. Yeah, their graphic designs for Zenless Zone Zero are so good. I genuinely, like, I don't even want to be like a popular YouTuber or anything. Like, I genuinely don't care about fame. The only reason I would want to get popular is to get attention of these companies so that I can be like, because they keep their designers and their artists all under wraps. Like, I have no idea who designs anything. But if I was popular enough, I'd be like, show me your artists. Like, let me talk to them so I know how they do what they do. I want to learn from them. That's literally the only reason why I would want clout or attention. You're so ZZZ pilled? Yeah, I am. It's so good. I'm making a video. I wrote it. I finished writing it a couple days ago. And it's going to be called Zenless Zone Zero, The Fundamentals of World Building. Because their world building is legitimately insane. It'll be from a design standpoint. But the story is insane. I watched a video. It was a YouTuber I've never seen before. It was a girl who broke down like the entire story of ZZZ and all the inspirations into like mythology, and it was so insane. It was like mind-blowing how detailed they were with this inspiration from like Greek mythology that fed into all of their design work. I was floored how intricately woven the story and the design were influencing each other. I've never honestly seen, I've only seen a few games, I should say, that are like that. But the world building is peak tier. It's so good. And it just seems like, people are excited about it now. I am excited about it now, so it seems like something that might make a good video. And I enjoyed writing it, so I think it'll be good for people. Especially, that's one of the things I think that gets most people into art, is wanting to bring to life their own ideas, their own stories, so that's world building, all of it. Greek mythology, huh? That's definitely not what I expected. Yeah, there's all this stuff about the main characters' names being related to Helios, the god of sun or something like that, and then who we suspect their teacher being is literally a giant fireball for a head. Like, if you look at their computer, it says it was made by the Helios Foundation. There's this stuff about like knots, and like the internet is called Interknot, and there's a little like symbol of a knot. It's really, really cool. I can link the video if you end up playing it at all and you're interested. Greek mythology fills so many stories, so it's a useful pool of inspiration. Yeah, for sure. Something I've realized. Actually, we're done with our 10 minutes, but let me bring it up. I found this really cool. I've been trying to figure out how there's a school out in, I actually don't know where it is. I think it's in China potentially or something. Oh my god, this music is really random right now. There's a school called Magic Leaders. It's in China or Singapore or something like that. I'd have to look again, I forget. But I've always seen some of the most insane, like 100% probably some of the artists that are working on these games are from this school because they're just so good. And I've always wondered, like, what the hell are they doing at that school? Because the character designs that come out of it, not everybody's perfect, of course. Some people work harder than others on their spare time, but a lot of the times the students that come out of there are insanely good, really amazing designs. And then I finally figured out a piece of it. Let's see if I can bring one up. They plan out the details to an extent that I have not seen before. I guess there's one example. We can show that. And I'm looking for a specific page. Oh, is this it? No. I know you're in here somewhere. Ah, here it is. I had this translated with Google Translate, so the resolution's really crappy. But they do this. I'm assuming this is not all done at once because it would make sense that they just already have a design like set. So what I imagine that happens is they do this part first. They do a background setting introduction, and then main elements and basics set reference, right? So now this is what they pull on. Then they probably do a ton of iteration based on this and this, right? And then they finally get it's probably something a little bit more sketchy than this, or like that, right? But then they do this thing over here called plan for the details. And literally they find, like, they may have scribbled out some like head nonsense, and then they're like, no, this is inspired by a guitar or a sitar, whatever this is. And they find the reference, and then they make sure that they use it properly, right? And they do that for every little piece. This may not be the most successful design or whatever. Yeah, it looks like because their final presentation is always fully designed. So like, let me show you an example. So when they come up with when they come up with a final page, it's gonna look like this, right? Like, it's fully designed, graphic design and all the art that they did, right? So this is like oh my god, I'm losing my mouse. This is like a student homework assignment, right? They probably did the first 2 pages, then they did iteration, then they plopped this in there. It's like tracking the journey of how they're doing each step. And then they plan out like an insane amount of detail. So I think one of the big things that I fail at, and I'm assuming a lot of other people who are trying to do character design in classes or either by themselves, is that they'll get to this part where it's the like sketchiness of it all, but they don't take the time to plan out these details. So when they try to go from sketch to like final piece, they haven't worked out in their mind. It's like handing off your stuff to a 3D modeler, right? Like I heard this a lot when I was at like Naughty Dog or working with games and in entertainment art. Like the modelers, that's why they have people paint. I mean, you must know a portion of this because you do the gambling stuff. I'm sure you guys have some parts of this to an extent. If you have 3D models, like you need to know how things look. You can't just give them like a scribbly thing that looks cool because it's art, right? So you have to plan out the details to the nth degree and like draw them. Like that's why these Eastern schools are so like they can draw so well, because they're drawing everything out. They're making sure all the details are understood. It's not left to chance. And then if they want to do an illustration, because then they'll take this and they'll do like, it's not a good example. But they'll do an illustration, right? Like you can see it on a lot of the games. Yeah, like this guy. He's got the very strict like character looking one. I mean, there is some roughness, right? But it's pretty outlined what he's supposed to look like. I'm sure they have like a turnaround page for him. Oh my god. Where is my mouse? There we go. But then they have something where they can actually like lose edges and details and stuff because it's just an illustration. Hi Hank. Hi Chikage. So I thought that was really interesting and something I didn't know, and I'm gonna do while I'm designing the next set of characters I'm doing. So this is very, very cool and really interesting information that I just did not know before. It seems stupid, like it seems so easy. Like it's dumb. This is the teacher, by the way. This is one of the teachers. Look how insane the details are. Like how they plan for it. It's literally every little piece. And I think this is why they're so damn successful. And after you do this a few times, you're gonna put so much stuff into your visual library that's like really concrete pieces of reference. You're gonna get really good, and you'll probably be able to do this without much thought. Like you'll be able to create some really cool things. I mean, you still have to do this to some extent. The question I would have is like, how do they, like, look at how detailed some of this reference is. It's just like, how do you even search for this stuff? Like, you come up with some interesting sketch and then you're like, how do you find something like this just to like use? Where what are the keywords that you look up for these things? Like, you might know for this, you're like, oh, I know exactly, this is Archangel Tyrael, I know what cutscene this is from, I know what I want it to look like. But then you got stuff like this where it's just like, do you look for like buckled shirts? Fashion magazine? I remember I had a teacher, it was in graphic design, but he said that like the quality of your research, like understanding how to research was such an important skill. And I believed him at the time, I just didn't know to that extent like what that actually meant. I think I definitely took that for granted. Fashion magazines? Well, I mean, it's digital. I wouldn't be bumping around in fashion magazine. I mean, unless there's digital fashion magazines. I might do something similar but less massive with my motorbike night designs. Yeah, that's a really great example. Like, you have a really cool night motorcycle, so you'd be looking at all this like reference, and then how do you research like these specific things with the night that you want, or the specific bike that you're looking for. Motor nights, that is awesome. I even like the, like, you could totally turn that into like a mobile game. Devon, can I see the image again? Oh yeah, sure. I'm not sure which one you mean. You mean this thing? Or did you mean the last one? I can just open recent. Oh, nope. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's this one. So what I was telling, or what we were talking about was, I, for a long time, have been a huge fan of this school called Magic Leaders. Let me show you one of the teachers who is absolutely incredible. Oh, you're a graphic designer? Yeah, me too. Yeah, so this would apply to graphic design too, I would assume. So originally I was talking about Zenless Zone Zero and how they have incredible graphic design for that game, and all these people are coming from the same backgrounds of schools of learning how to design. I guess maybe if you're a graphic designer, I'll show you graphic design stuff. Let me see, where did I put that? You were asking how someone would research the reference images used for the illustration. Oh, yeah, sorry. I actually don't have an answer. That is one of the reasons why I was bringing it up. So when, you know, these schools that I've been looking at, like Magic Leaders, make their artwork, like they're learning more than just, see anything until I make the brush bigger. They're learning more than just like the character design, drawing, painting skills and everything. Like obviously this is a lot of layout, graphic design. This is impressive graphic design, right? Even simpler stuff like this, and it's all combined with their artwork. And I was saying that, you know, I found this piece of reference. I was able to use the Google Translate on this, learning that it's not exactly in this like perfect order, and looks can be deceiving sometimes, but they clearly start by writing out some sort of background information, then finding reference for it, then making sketches, and then planning for the details. And I can imagine that their graphic design works the same way, right? They probably, if we're going back here, they probably sketch something out like in a little, see, like a little thumbnail thing, right? Where they're like, oh yeah, I want this kind of thing to happen, right? They're like, okay, I want this, some text here, baby text there, right? And then now they're like, okay, I need, this is the tricky part, right? This is where I was saying I don't actually have the answer. You think you might have an answer, or a perspective, not an answer. What was the name of this art again? I love it. I would have to reverse Google search this because I don't actually know. I've saved a lot into this sort of graphic design folder. It's a Weibo account. Let me type it in. Which I don't know if I can type that in. Hang on one sec. Let me see if I can actually... Three. Right, that looks like it's correct. Here you go. That is the account. I mean, I'd like to see your perspective. Your website is very nice. Oh, you're very, what is this type of artwork? My God, I fail at everything. It's not, oh my God, I forget the name of this. I don't typically do anything like this. It's cool though. If you go to Weibo, I think it's the last app. Yeah, so there's 4 tabs underneath their profile, and it's the last one on the right. And if you just scroll down, sometime, I don't remember if this is required anymore, but to click on the actual images, you usually need an account. Don't ask me how to do that because I do not remember how I made the account to Weibo. I think I spoofed like a Chinese number, and now I just have an account, so I don't need to worry about it. But Weibo has some incredible designers. But again, a lot of these designers, like for Zenless Zone Zeros, what I was saying is that they're hacker confirmed. Shh, don't tell anybody. Apparently I'm a hacker, Lucky. That's all you missed. Did you guys come back at the same time? The One Piece posters. Yeah, I was talking about your art, Devon. I went to your website. Sorry, I was sneaky. Well, there was no other way to... When I was first following Ray, I found her Weibo account through... Actually, I don't think it was Ray who helped me with Weibo. Oh yeah, it was Krenz, Kushart. I think he was the first person I followed. I was trying to look at his artwork, and it was through like a Weibo account, and it wouldn't let me click on the image to see it all full. So I figured out, I think I had to go to Reddit to figure out how to make an account, and I finally did, and now it's super easy. So I just use my phone to log in, but God, I would really, really hate if I lost access to that, because there's so many artists I follow in there. There's so many good artists on there that don't exist on any other channel or social media or whatever. That would be very sad if I lost access. Alright, gotta do this way. So you do illustration too, Devon? Yeah, I like the site. It looked really gorgeous. Can definitely tell you, or at least have skill in the graphic design area. A lot of artists make their own website who draw and stuff, and doesn't look very good because they don't know the fundamentals of like graphic design stuff. It's weird that it doesn't translate, you know. I always say that like when my family or something is just like, well, you can draw this, how come you can't do that? I'm just like, everything is related but also very different. It's a weird paradox. Like, your skills do translate, but if you've never practiced something before, you're still going to be bad at it. Like, you're just not going to automatically be good. So like, even though, you know, graphic design uses the same principles of design, if you are an amazing, you know, illustrator and you're using all those principles, like, you're going to suck at graphic design first. Even though all those principles are the same, and it seems ridiculous. You can drive a car, why can't you ride a horse or a train? I mean, that is similar. I would say the horse maybe not so much. But the train or a plane, yeah. There's a lot more buttons, there's just different stuff, but there's like a lot of crossover, right? You're a gamer, you could operate the submersible with a controller. Oh my god. Yeah, so, yeah, if you have some insight into the reference, Devon, that would be cool. Yeah, I can post an invite link for you if you want to drop in stuff into the Discord. It's too high. Do that too much. Because I don't really know how they figure out their reference. It's very... It seems like it wouldn't be such like a problematic thing, you know? Like it would be a difficult thing to figure out. But I feel like there is a trick to it. Because the reference they find is just... It looks perfect for what they wanted. I'm just like, how did you find this? Or maybe it just looks perfect because it almost is like, I mean, they're using it, right? So maybe it looks perfect because it's the after that you're looking at, not the before. I'm a self-taught designer. I went to school for illustration. Long story. Yeah, I'm the same way. Went to school for art. Self-taught graphic designer. I switched over when I realized that I could get work that way, basically. Non-creative people think creatives are wizards or simpletons. Are they magical or hobbyists? Artists are like wizards. Payment? Sorry, I can no longer hear. That was funny, for. I can't hear you, my ears stopped working. To be honest, studying and reading about style, eras, and fashion is going to help a lot, knowing what to look for. Like I studied ornament drawing, so I know what keywords to use. I believe that is very, very true. It's one of the reasons why I've been trying to make like a PDF on the elements and principles of design. I feel like our ability to talk about art, like the fact that I know the name of it, it's just stuck somewhere in my head. Devon, when I looked at your like One Piece posters and some of the other stuff that you had done. Brutalism. Thank you, brain! It's a lot of it is brutalism. I'm assuming you already know that. But like, being able to speak to that so you can actually search for, hey, I want to look for brutalism to reference, that's super important. You worked very hard for that joke. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh, he's just offering lovely advice, like just making a little comment. But no, you were ready with that joke. Meme references in general, I think you just have to practice framing a question, explaining details of an image. Use as many adjectives as possible until I find the correct jargon. Yeah, I mean, it's part of this stuff here, right? Let me see if I can find a better example. So it was one of the teacher examples, and it was... Honestly, the teacher examples are better. just because they're like so much more detailed. I'll just use this one again. This is probably the best example, to be honest. Like they found the right chains that they wanted to go off of the wrist here, the boots that had the right laces for them, the medals here, this specific cut of the jacket to help him figure that out, and the little like button attachment. The swirly part of the backpack here, which they used in there. They took this sort of looks like a bracelet design and they put it on this sort of like feathery part, and then they repeated it on the staff. And then this guy, he's got all sorts of pieces of inspiration, some from art, some from other stuff. It's very cool how it's done. Grunge, dirty, vintage, heavy text, rough, rebellious, less colors, posters, design. Oh, okay. Yeah, and then there's like that whole thing, right, where not everybody knows the word brutalism. In fact, it's probably not used by many people, so people are using the words like grunge or vintage or heavy text, right? So you also have to think about how people are using their visual vocabulary, and you might get different imagery based on that too, so. I got in a heavy take about brutalism in an Instagram post I made. Lots of people agreeing and disagreeing about what I was doing and how to describe it. People have zero idea the difference between Baroque and Rococo, so the Campo style eras often gives mixed results. Interesting. I don't actually know what... I mean, I have a vague idea of what Baroque is, but I don't know what Rococo is at all. Academics can get very caught up in the terminology and keywords within art. I'm not that, to be honest, but I don't knock it. I'm okay with people disagreeing. Yeah, feel free to share your hot takes. Yeah, I wouldn't want it to turn into a thing where like people are just you know, disagreeing over semantics, which Four and I know very well. It just has to be rooted in like helping people identify what things are, so you can sort of navigate your way through. Well, really it's mostly about reference and to be able to speak to what you're seeing and how you want to be inspired, especially if you ever had to communicate to a team of designers or something. Like if you can't tell them what the like inspiration is, like if you have a particular setting or a theme or something, you're gonna have a really hard time communicating that if you don't know what is what. Yeah. Go for another. Yeah, no, I'll do it. When it comes to ornament designs, Rococo is light and live. I think Marie Antoinette Baroque is more robust, heavy and thick, often with dark wood. Oh, okay. Would, whatchamacallit? There's an artist, Mucha? Would Mucha be considered Rococo? Hans? Is it Hans Mucha? Alphonse Mucha? Nouveau. Oh, okay. Totally wrong then. I'd have to see a visual example of Rococo. Art Nouveau is essentially the point where we entered modern design and left the old style eras. Oh, okay. Called it brutalist thresholding? They just focus on the nomenclature behind it? Oh. I don't even know what that means. Gotta be honest. Can give you image examples when I get home. Oh, okay. I would appreciate it. Is so interesting. So many little intricacies. Still think this is not. Hypertech, hi. How do I draw from imagination? The simple answer is practice. And not like how most people say where you just study a bunch of stuff. You actually have to practice drawing from your imagination. It's not like an easy thing to do necessarily. Like obviously studying when something's in front of you is a ton easier, and when you just draw from imagination it feels impossible because it's just so much harder at first, because you think you have nothing in your head to draw, but you actually just have way too many things, to the point where it's just there's just a mess in there, and you don't have the experience to, like, if you've ever seen Araceli draw, you don't have the experience to, the way that she talks about is that when if she like draws a line, right, she knows, she's drawn so many times that she knows that I'm gonna go this way with this line and that way, which means the next gonna connect. Like she knows how to keep continuing the lines essentially. But yeah, the way you have to do that is through practice. So you study things, like I'm drawing the neck here, things like that, right? And then I'll apply that knowledge by studying without looking at this reference. So I am using my imagination at that point. It's not, I would say, you might call it drawing from memory, right? And the more that if you've ever looked up things called like recall or space learning, you actually remember better if you allow yourself to forget a little bit and then pull that from your memory, because you're strengthening that memory, because you had to pull it right from like the back of your mind. So the more that you can do that, like draw things from reference, then tuck that away, then do it by yourself without that reference, and like it takes a minute sometimes, like you'll forget a lot of things, and that's part of it. You want to do that, But you also want to remember things. So if you wait too long, you're going to totally forget it. But the more that you remember, the more that learning is really going to take place, and you're going to be able to draw more and more from your imagination. The best thing that you could probably do for yourself is create some kind of project, so that you have something very specific to carve out. So like for instance, for me, I'm doing this, I'm doing other stuff too, but I'm doing this project with the characters of Sword Art Online. So like when I was trying to come up with their designs for their outfits and stuff, I studied a lot of the artist Abeck, which is all the like medieval clothing, but very specific to his art style. And then I would put that away and I would try to make my own, trying to remember all those things that I had learned. And then I'll bring the reference back in too, so that I can help fix things that are messed up and stuff like that. So it's a mixture. I would say if you're more of a beginner, don't do any less than 50-50, meaning 50% reference, 50% without reference. As you get better and better, I would probably turn that more into 70-30, 80-20, where the 80 is imagination, 20 is not. And then only like use the reference as a reference, like something that is inspiring you, not a direct copy of that pose or whatever it is you're looking at. Like the color of that is inspiring you, or the pose is inspiring, but you want to turn it and look down on that character instead. So really being able to understand how things turn in space, like if you're drawing from reference and like this head here, like I could draw this. I now know the like basic building blocks, right? The head is, especially if you're a beginner, this you might not do it so complicated, but the head can fit inside of a square, right? As long as you can turn this square in perspective and then chip away, right? You know the head fits in here. Sorry, this is going to be super bad, but you know that if you turn this right this way, you know how to draw the square in perspective, so now you know how to chip away and shove the head back in that square. That's how we deal with everything. Being able to break down basic things into basic objects, until the point where you can do stuff where you don't maybe necessarily need to do that totally, because you've just drawn it enough. And you'll still struggle with things. Like it's a struggle to figure it out. I've heard that Kim Jong-gi's videos, he talks about that a lot. Like being able to draw for imagination is basically, can you break down this in your mind? Essentially, like as a beginner, you'll draw it out. Right, you'll do the whole like box thing of the figure. Right, pelvis. Shoop. You do that whole. Right, you'll draw it all out. Some people use spheres or whatever here. I don't really do this anymore, so sorry. If you can break down everything into simple shapes, you know how to turn those shapes in space, and that's kind of how you figure out how to draw things from imagination. You have to problem solve on your own time, right? So like you know how to turn a square in space. What does that look like when I turn a head like away from me? You know how to draw the square, and that's away from you, and now you're like, okay, how do I know that there's like a triangle shape down here, and this is like a ball, and there's the neck, and you start to figure stuff out and you problem solve it. And that really is how you figure out how to draw from your imagination. It's a lot of problem solving. You have to like sit in that discomfort of like not knowing how to draw something and being like, does this look right? Like drawing like this, does this look right? And then if, you know, you'll fail at that, and then you'll go back and find new reference, focusing on very specific areas. Like, okay, I need reference for just heads that are looking up, because I need to figure this out, right? So you'll practice a few more from reference, and then you'll go and do some more by yourself. And then eventually it'll click. And then you won't necessarily need to do basic shapes, because you know how, like, you've developed a shorthand for how things look in perspective. So now you can do a more simplified, like, mannequin for your figure, right? And you can put it in perspective without having to draw this. So your basic like breakdown will evolve over time, and that's just up to how comfortable you are with what you're drawing. And sometimes you might have something difficult that you draw, and you always can remember those basics. You're like, okay, this freaking spiky ass plant is so confusing. How do we draw this, right? Or like organic stuff, plants. Everybody always has a different weakness. I think plants and stuff can be very difficult. But you'll remember that it's like it's a piece of paper, right? That you can turn. And sorry, it's not like a lovely plant or anything, and this is just a cylinder that's turning towards you and then away from you, right? And then you tack on the details of stuff, and you can erase away the little like boxes that you may have drawn for it and things like that. And then you get more like detailed shapes, and then all of a sudden you got plants. So I should go practice garden. Yeah. Just don't. It's frustrating sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. Just don't be afraid, and give yourself grace. Like, you're learning this stuff for the first time. It is hard. Thanks for the tips. I'm really struggling with drawing without reference right now. It's so frustrating. Yeah, Chicago, it is super frustrating. Did you draw, dude? What software is this? This is called Paint Tool Sci. There's a newer version of Paint Tool Sci, but this is the older version. I just feel like I want the simpler approach for the moment. Chicago, it is super frustrating because you're problem solving, and it's like you're working with almost nothing, and you're trying to pull all this information from your brain, and you probably don't have the exact pose in your head, so you're also like turning things and trying to understand them. That's why it's so important to know how to like break things down into basic shapes. I no longer use CSP. Clip Studio. I think I will return to Clip Studio at some point. To do, like, because especially when if I want to do something like the layout design I've been showing earlier in the session, like stuff like this, like you can't do this in Paint Tool Sci very well. You would need Photoshop. And I actually don't know as much about Clip Studio Paint and its features with text and textures and all that stuff, so I'm sure it can do that. Plus, for making comics, Clip Studio Paint is supposedly really good, so I will definitely jump back to CSP. I don't want to be beholden to any particular software, but I do love how Paint Tool Sci works with blending. I hate Photoshop for painting. Ever since, like, once I tried CSP, it was like a whole new world of blending, and then Paint Tool Sci was like an extra lift to that. So Photoshop I'm trying to use for graphic design. And then I have to use Illustrator for different stuff, and hopefully I can get out of there too with, like, because Adobe is just the worst. But you know, all the really great designers right now, a lot of them use Photoshop, so that's how I have to learn, and then I'll try to shift out of there eventually. Sorry, Devon. Photoshop is genuinely, like, there are people that use it and they're successful and everything, but Photoshop is the worst for painting. It's not built for it. Like, it never was. So it just makes things harder, to be honest. Yeah, the blending is really difficult. You can figure it out, for sure. There are people that do, but it's just not as nice as some of these other programs, for sure. Built for graphic design, photo manipulation. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'll use it for graphic design. I'll bring my paintings into Photoshop and work on it that way, but not for actually painting. But yeah, Chicago, it is very frustrating, and I can understand that you would be struggling without reference. Like, it is a struggle. Even coming up with the ideas is a struggle, but it's because you have to practice those things all at the same time that makes it so hard. Like, coming up with ideas is something that you have to practice to be good at. That's one of the things that really hits me the hardest, is I feel like I have nothing to draw, and some people can just sit down and draw random things and they come out wonderful, right? And when I sit down to draw, I'm just like, I've got nothing in my head. And that will pass over time. It hasn't happened to me quite yet, but I'm confident that it will once I learn more and have applied myself to that a bit more. It's honestly not even built for graphic design, to be honest. Just an overpowered photo manipulator. You can make a blender sort by using a brush with scattering and continuous spray, but it's still more smeary than blending. Yeah, I mean, they have a blending brush, and as long as you use the right brush, like you said, it does blend. It's really hard to explain until you try both, like CSP and Photoshop, or Paint Tool Sci and Photoshop. The blending is just like buttery, and then in Photoshop it's like a mess. I'm contracted with Photoshop, so I'm not knocking it. I use it for everything. It's definitely a jack of all trades application. Oh, you're contracted with them. Interesting. Like as a promotional, like a social media person or something? Yeah, totally. You'll get it eventually, Chicago. It is a struggle. It's just part of that keeping the faith thing. Like the artists that are really great that you love now started where you were, you know, felt like they had no ideas. I think a lot of what happens with people who draw from their imagination, who are not the like typical, I don't even know how to describe it really, the people who just drew whatever the hell they wanted, right? Whereas I'm assuming, Chicago, you're more like me, where it's just like you're trying to get better, so you've been studying, and whenever you try to draw something for yourself, it's so gross that you don't want to do it, right? And these other people did not care what it looked like. They just wanted to draw exactly what they wanted to draw. The fan art of their characters kissing or whatever. That's what a lot of it comes down to, let's be honest. But like, they were so invested in what they wanted to draw, And we, on the other hand, are so invested on getting better. And that dichotomy can be just, it can lead down two very different paths. And so finding our way towards that path where it's like, I don't care how it comes out, I just want to draw what I want to draw, is kind of where we need to like aim. At the end of the day, it's all about them smooches. Exactly. I just came back to Photoshop from CSP. Both have pros and cons. Yeah, I wouldn't say, like, again, there are lots of, Magoon, for instance, he's the, this guy, and he draws a bunch of anime stuff, which is all you would think would use. He's the guy who does this stuff. Magoon. This. He just did this thing. Like, I would assume most of the Eastern artists use like Clip Studio, so I'm actually shocked that he uses Photoshop, but he does. You can still do great work. It's not, yeah, and there's a lot of tools that aren't available in something like Paint Tool Sci, like using blur tools and noise and things like that. So it does have its advantages. But for purely painting is what I'm talking about, it's incomparable. Like, Photoshop is not good. It's not as good. I'm sorry. For just pure painting. For drawing, you can do that anywhere, right? But for painting, blending specifically, it's just not as good. If you can learn how to blend on Photoshop, that's tricky in itself, like that, then that's really great, because now you can take advantage of all of the like filters, blur, noise, all this other stuff that Photoshop has. CSP has a lot of quality of life features that Photoshop doesn't. Yeah, no, I do know that, like a lot of the like filling in line work and things like that. As a creative partner, so content specific things. Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I get it. You don't want to knock Adobe. Adobe, it's just, you know, I won't even go into it because I don't want you to get in trouble. But no, there are advantages to the Adobe programs. I just wish they operated more kindly to their consumers, because it just seems like we are a giant wallet and they want to suck us dry. Plus now with all the AI stuff, which is just, they're just taking directly from us, that's not great either. I've been stuck on an illustration for a month now. I just can't draw it without a reference. It feels bad, but it can get any worse. That's great. Thanks for the kind words, guys. Oh, Chikage, you don't have to do stuff without reference. That's too much. Okay, look at what I just did on the. You're in the Discord, right, Chikage? Where is this? Again, I'm no expert. I'm really bad at painting, right? If you look at the... Okay, you are. So, we'll put this up, right? I actually don't have a previous version, so let me grab it from our Discord. Okay. That looks so bad in comparison. Okay, hang on. So that. And. I'm gonna show you something, Chicago. Give me one second. Tracking all these files down. Such a pain in the butt. Okay, here we go. Okay. We can close this one. Okay, Chicago. I thought that the line art for this is the artwork that I did. I thought the line art came out great, and then when I tried to paint it, like I didn't use any reference for the line art or for this, and I just like, when I painted it, I was so disappointed. It just looked kind of terrible. And then typically what I'll do is, if that's what's happening, especially since I'm still very much learning, I will do a study, which I did one of Reyes. I definitely felt like I learned some things, especially with the treatment of the hair and the face. Not perfect by any means, but definitely good enough, passable, right? And then I did this, and I fixed my piece. Let me put these next to each other so that we copy image. Again, not perfect, but way better. Huge improvement. Because I decided to use reference something to get a better color palette going on, and I could pull from imagination, like from memory, the stuff that I did during that study. And you can see such a huge difference. Yeah, they are less scary. The colors are less garish. Like, obviously it's finished too, but like, thank you. But like, this did not take me very long. Like, I didn't get stuck on this for a month. I did a study and then I went back to this. The study didn't take very long, a couple hours. The painting didn't take a long couple hours, because like, I don't know how to detail a painting yet and everything. It is okay to use reference to help you cross that finish line. There's no reason why you should be stuck on something for a month just because you're trying to force yourself to, you know, do things from memory and everything. It's part of the practice. Like, get yourself as much of the way there as you can, then introduce stuff so you can make it better. You don't have to force yourself to, like, thank you, Chicago. You don't have to force yourself to do anything crazy. You know what I mean? I feel like I may have done that a little myself. I just kind of forced myself to do certain things like that, but definitely not necessary. And you can pop reference in, and as much as you want too. Like, I didn't do any reference for her particular pose or anything. It was just for the color, and the study helped inform me like how to structurally make things better. So like Forrest said, the eyes are less scary and things like that. Right? So I used enough reference to where I could learn what I wanted to learn and push that piece past the finish line enough, so I was happy with where it was and I had learned enough. Yeah, you are being too hard on yourself. You know, my teacher always said too that it's not a good idea to over-render something that's like a part of that you're learning, you know. That's why sometimes I don't go too deep into the details, because I'm still learning. Eventually I have to learn those details as well. Your eye and your skill level are always bouncing back and forth, so when you see that you have something good, you push through all those details, find reference to help you, and then in the next piece you can try to do something from memory, you know, and see how far you get, and then introduce reference when you need it. it's good that you're practicing not to be too reliant on it, but don't go so far that you're like overcorrecting and now you're forcing yourself to do it without it. Like, what else are you supposed to do? It's not like it's just gonna come into your head, right? So I hope you get past your piece that you've been working on for a month. Don't burn yourself out on one piece too. I worked on one thing for 6 months, but it burnt me out so bad I didn't try for 2 years. Oh, damn. Yeah, at the Atelier school, we did these big charcoal drawings that were perfect copies of sculptures, and it took like a month to do one of them, and because they make sure it's like pinpoint accurate, so you have to redo anything that's not perfect, but it's a weird feeling. I felt like I didn't do it when I was done with it, because it was so long. But yeah, you can burn yourself out like that. You definitely, I mean, unless it's something you want to work 6 months on. I can't imagine a painting unless it was like huge. Use a grid method though. They were 24 by 36. We didn't use grids. It's kind of like plotting lines sometimes. Like we use verticals, horizontals, angles, things like that. You just kind of had to guesstimate how big it was and everything, and then the teachers would come around and tell you like, oh, this is good or bad, or this is too far over, or whatever. I remember one of the ones was a hand that I did, and it was over by like a couple centimeters. And they were like, redo it, and I was basically done. I was so annoyed. But it made me better at observing and recording. That's what the Atelier schools do. Anyways, guys, I have to jump off. Sorry, I stayed like an extra 30 minutes. It was really fun chatting with you guys, and chatting with the gang. Let me drop in case people are not in there. An invite. In case you're not in the Discord and you want to be. I don't know if you're in there, Devon, but you can share some of the work you were talking about. Alright, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Thank you. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thank you for stopping by, guys. It was fun. Catch you all tomorrow. Good chatting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Chicago.